In our quest to understand the world and story of Death Stranding, I've taken the time to replay the first game, which would hopefully help us find possible explanations as to what's going on in the sequel. We've already covered a lot in part 1, but just like I mentioned towards the end of that presentation, there are many questions left. So today I'm going to try and answer more of them. Let's go! Let's start off by addressing a couple of theories shared by MadHatter93 from the previous video. In the first paragraph, it's posited that the attack which happened in Trailer 1 was a vision by Fragile, and what she experienced in that scene was actually from Sam's point of view. The dialogue between them in Trailer 2, where she updates him about what happened with Bridges, Fragile Express, and Drawbridge, meant that they were not in contact for a while. A conversation that would not have happened if they maintained communications, which Trailer 1 seemed to suggest. This theory makes sense. The only problem with it is that there's no evidence of Fragile having an ability to see another person's experience through dreams, nor do anyone else actually, with exception to what Doom sufferers saw by what the Extinction Entity shared. But I'm not going to dismiss this possibility, because we both agree that certain details don't add up, like the tar tears, which until now defy explanation. There's also something odd going on with the Cryptobiotes. In one shot, we see the normal pink-colored ones contained within the pod, but in the next, where it's popped open, the ones we see floating about are a light blue variant with spikes that I've never seen before. It's also a well-known fact that Hideo Kojima really likes movies, so he's definitely in tune with the art of film language. And one detail in the first trailer is a close-up shot of the Dreamcatcher, which means it's most likely there for a reason. Mad Hatter's other theory suggests that Amal Soul could have binded with Luz when she was resuscitated. The only case I know of where this happened was with Malingin and Lochna, where two souls occupied one body. But they were conjoined twins, and their world considers that an acceptable exception. I think it's unlikely for Amal to meld with another soul, simply because she's a part of the Extinction Entity. Towards the end of the first game, we know that she cut off her beach from the entire world, so if the EE is gone, then I assume Amal also disappeared. They're the same person after all. But who knows, maybe there's a special case that would allow for it to happen. Mad Hatter pointed out that Lou in BT form has wings, a potential hint towards Amal.
I'm down to all of it. This world, that world, and our sweet little angel of death.
As far as I know, she's the only one in the entire game who's been referred to as an angel, so maybe there's something to that. In relation to the Extinction Entity, there's an interesting scenario that might have happened because of her disappearance. Remember that Dooms is a nightmare experienced by the EE, which she shared at random to warn people about the Death Stranding, and it comes along with abilities depending on a person's level. Now that the source is gone, there's a very good chance that Dooms also disappeared. No more nightmares, but also no more powers. This could explain why Fragile in Trailer 1 didn't have her umbrella to teleport herself and Lou to safety. And as we've seen from Higs in DS1, Doom's powers are not permanent.
Oh, what's this? You're already broken.
This might also be the reason why he's now fighting with a weaponized guitar instead of summoning tar creatures. The last time we heard about him, he was stuck on Amal's beach, according to this email. While it's not impossible to get a living person out of such a situation, as we've seen from Sam, the method used for Higgs is definitely a lot different, seeing how his midsection is now mostly artificial. It makes me wonder what he's referring to when he asks the puppet this question.
Hey, buddy. Are you just another soulless little husk, huh?
By another, was he also referring to himself? As a side note, Mr. Kojima said in the recent HideoTube that we'll get to know more about this puppet character as the game progresses. But I think its model, a German film director named Fatih Akin, might have given us a clue, which is basically a search for immortality gone wrong.
I do movies, in a way to be immortal, That's one of the reasons I'm doing pictures, in a way, and seeing myself or seeing, the inspiration for that character in your game, like, okay, I can't stop doing films. I'm immortal already, So that's so cool.
Let's now briefly focus our attention towards Lou. Not BB-28, because apparently that's a different bridge baby who's already gone even before the events of the first game. If we put ourselves in the shoes of Deadman, who I assume is going to be the one who'll investigate Lou's past, what avenues can we explore to find information about her? We know that by the time Sam and Lou partnered up, she was already towards the end of her expected service duration, and she passed through many porters' hands. The earliest we know of was Igor Frank. So maybe Deadman can begin by searching through those porters' records. If that doesn't lead anywhere, then an additional source of info can be found with a specific person, Lou's still mother, who's located within the Capital Knot ICU. But I think the bigger question is, what is it that Higgs found so interesting? Was he simply surprised that Lou turned into a BT bound within the BB pod? That's certainly unheard of, because all the other units were incinerated after they broke down, so this is definitely a unique case. But if I had to guess, I would say his surprise has something to do with a BB's other function, which is to act as a connector between a station and the chiral network, formerly known as a network access key. Since half of his body is now artificial, maybe he found a way to leverage that and regain his connection to the beach, but that's just my guesswork. As far as I can tell, Lou's past has always been a blank slate, so her story can go anywhere. Another intriguing puzzle from the two trailers is, how did Fragile reverse her aging? We know from the first game that she got horribly exposed to timefall, but in DS2, any visible effects from it are now gone, before she got hit by that black liquid anyway. While there are no hints that would explain this yet, I suspect the solution has something to do with cryptobiotes. As I tried to figure this one out, the first thing that came to mind was this line from Fragile early in the first game.
A cryptobiote a day keeps the timefall away.
She also has an interview that contains facts about these creatures. It seems that cryptobiotes can be found not just in the world of the living, but also in the seam and on the beach, which makes them impervious to time. On top of that, consuming one also grants a limited resistance to timefall, so it's not far-fetched to think that someone managed to synthesize a cure from them, which would reverse the effects of accelerated time, or maybe even a de-aging drug that might also explain how Sam restored his hair to its original color. For the last section of this video, we turn to the second trailer where I noticed a couple of things. First, there's an unidentified character wearing yellow boots seen in this shot. It could be Shioli Kutsuna's character, but that's just a hunch. More importantly, in this same portion where they talked about the black liquid Elle Fanning's character was submerged in, notice what Sam said afterwards.
That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar? As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
Hearing those lines, it made me think of this shot. If you finish the first game, then you already know what the world of the living, the seam, and the beach looks like. None of them feature the moon, especially in this close proximity. If that's the case, then could this be in the afterlife? No, because the other side is composed of antimatter. If Sam found his way there, then he would have exploded the moment he touched something. So the only other possibility is that this rocky plain is a portion of an underworld, one that's closely connected to Tar. And the flying entity seen here is an example of a chiral creature that George Miller's character was talking about. So yes, in my opinion, what lies underneath the surface is not simply a sea of tar. It's a layer that connects the world of the living with that of another realm. This has been the second part of my observations surrounding the trailers for Death Stranding 2. Thank you, MadHatter93, for sharing your theories in the comments section. Analyzing this IP has been very interesting so far, and I'll make sure to do more as new topics arise.